The recording, I'll get this going. All right. Welcome everyone to today's Hispanic Heritage Month webinar. Our virtual discussion will focus on recognizing the unique perspectives of our Hispanic and Latinx members. This session is brought to you by US Youth Soccer in conjunction with our sponsor, Hospital for Special Surgeries, the official hospital and player health and safety partner of US Youth Soccer. Hispanic Heritage Month commemorates how Hispanic and Latinx communities, our communities, have influenced and contributed to American society at large. And in today's session in particular, we're going to look at how that influence has occurred in youth soccer. We have two great co-hosts today and a very distinguished panel. I'll leave that to the host in a few minutes to introduce them. And just once again, say welcome to everyone. For U.S. Soccer, our vision regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion is that we'd like U.S. Soccer to endeavor to be an organization that will always embrace diversity and inclusion and strive to be the sport of choice for players, officials, coaches, and administrators of all backgrounds. We hope to be seen to be encouraging the advancement of diverse individuals throughout our organization, and hopefully, it'll be recognized that we are providing a culture where all individuals will feel safe, respected, and are treated fairly. And our approach overall will be to initiate discussion about an awareness of the issues that are facing our members, and to ensure that we constantly have dialogue. And from that dialogue, hopefully be able to identify some tangible actions that going forward, once implemented, will help to improve our sport overall. All right. So that's a little bit of who we are. And with that, we have today our host, Andrea Garcia, Associate Vice President of University Advancement with Touro University, California, and our co-host, Tim McCoy, the Executive Director of Pennsylvania West. And with that, I'll turn it over to our host to introduce our panel and get us started for today.
Thank you. Bienvenidos y gracias por estar aquí con nosotros esta noche. Good evening, welcome, and thank you for being with us here tonight. As Hugh said, my name is Andrea Garcia. We are hosting this fantastic conversation, a much needed conversation with Tim McCoy. I'd like to introduce this phenomenal panel that we have. I'm so lucky to have all of them with us here tonight. Omir Fernandez, direct from the New York Red Bulls. Omir, would you like to say hello and maybe a little bit about yourself?
No, it's great to be here. I'm Omir Fernandez. I play for the New York Red Bulls. My heritage is my parents are Mexican and I'm American, so I'm Mexican American. I grew up here in New York, and I'm glad to be playing now my third season with the Red Bulls.
Thank you so much. Mikey Lopez from Birmingham Legion Football Club.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm Mikey Lopez. I'm from Mission, Texas, border city down in Texas, South Texas. I currently play for Birmingham Legion. This is my 9th year as a pro. I've played 5 years in the MLS and 4 in the USL. I'm a first generation Mexican American. And yeah, so thank y'all for having me and looking forward to our discussion today.
Thank you for being here. Miraya Villalpando from Rebels Soccer Club.
Hi, I am also a first generation Mexican American. I'm from San Diego, California, and I play for Rebels. I've been playing soccer for about 10 to 11 years. Super honored to be here.
Thank you. Tim?
Thank you, Andrea. And I'd like to introduce Carlos Quinones. Carlos?
Hello, my name is Carlos Quinones, and I have been with North Texas State Soccer for 18 years, Vice President A&D Chairman, and for the last 16 years with United States Soccer Federation's Appeal Committee. I was born in El Paso, and I currently reside in for the last 42 years in Dallas, Texas, and I'm also a first-generation Mexican American.
Thank you. And also with us, Sylvia Calderon. Sylvia?
Hi. My husband is actually Mexican. He's first generation. So my son plays youth soccer. He's U14 now. They went to nationals last year, placed second. And I am more of the parent, kind of seeing the aspects, and parent manager behind the scenes, kind of seeing some of the obstacles our parents and players kind of face from the administrative aspect.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you for all being here tonight. We have a series of questions on how we'll do this. We'll ask one question, we'll go around, we'll call out your name and listen to your responses. So we will start out with our first question with Omir. Share with us your thoughts on what it means to be Latino and involved in the game as a person in your role.
What it means to be Latino, I think, you can answer this question in so many ways. For me, it's just kind of having that diversity and, different cultures and, experiencing different things. I think I see it as like an advantage for me. I love being Mexican American because I can experience both, aspects. And it revolving to the game, I think I have that extra passion. I think us Latinos have that extra passion for the sport. And I think I show it in my team, and I try to, give it off to my teammates as well. I think people can relate to me if they're American, if they're Hispanic, if they're Mexican. And I think that's something that I take with a lot of joy.
Great, thank you. Mikey?
Yeah, I think like Omir said, it's that passion that we have for the sport is something that's it's a really beautiful thing, especially for me. I mean, I know it's a proud, I feel a sense of pride being Hispanic, Mexican, Latino, whatever you want to say. I'm proud to be that and be a representation to our people, especially being a pro in the United States, and especially be a representation for the kids back home in the Valley of Texas. So I think just being a Latino it's a sense of pride thing for me, and it's a really beautiful thing.
Great. Mariah?
Yeah, just going off of what everyone's saying, I mean, I think it is just a lot of pride. I think, growing up around, my whole family, it's kind of sort of like a Mexican American thing. Like we always grew up, with the soccer ball, we always just like that competitiveness, that pride that we all carry with, like, even often on the field. I think it's an honor to be, Mexican American.
Thank you. Carlos?
As everyone else said, it's kind of like an honor, like a special privilege, because I'm white complexion. So I get confused for being white. And I was doing a high school game one time where one of the teams was predominantly from a Hispanic school, and they would not back up when I asked them to back up 10 yards. So I switched to Spanish and told them to back up. And after the game, the tournament director came laughing at me and said, a lot of the parents filed a complaint because they said they had a white boy telling the Hispanic players in Spanish to back up, and that was just wrong. And so the joke here at North Texas, because it happens quite a bit, is that I'm Hawaiian. I'm not Hispanic, because I keep confused for being white. But refereeing and being involved in Texas soccer, it's a privilege, because I grew up in a white world. I worked for Xerox for 41 years in a white world. But when I'm out there in soccer and you run into a Hispanic community, I can switch to Spanish and you can relate. And the famous praise that you hear nationally, "Si se puede," that just means so much more to the Hispanic culture.
Absolutely. And Sylvia?
Well, I would say probably being on different teams that have been mixed racially, I would say are the ones that have more of the Mexican Americans on the teams. Our teams are more family oriented. Like the players care about each other, the parents care about each other. We all kind of hang out, and it's a family instead of just a team.
Great, thank you. Tim?
Thank you. So our next question, we won't go in the same order every time so that you don't have this, you don't get to hear the other answers all the time. So this time we'll start with Sylvia, and we're going to ask you to tell us a little bit about your journey, where you are now, and how did you get the process started?
Well, my son came into soccer late. He started Park District in 3rd grade. And then we kind of went to a rec league and we were beating club teams. So then we kind of got into club soccer. And I grew up very poor, and I was like, club is for rich kids. So it was a trial by fire. We really didn't know anything about it. And we went into different clubs, and then I got into the team management aspect of it, and kind of was trial by fire and learning all the rules and regulations and making sure, you know, our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted.
Thank you. Carlos?
Mine is a strange beginning. I grew up in El Paso, Texas, but never ever saw a soccer ball in my life until I moved to Dallas, and my 6th grade daughter came home and with a flyer that she wanted to play soccer. And that's how I got involved in soccer. When I was a freshman in high school in PE, just to quit playing football every day, they threw a soccer ball out there. The first Hispanic player got kicked in the shin. A fight broke out, so we never saw the soccer ball again. And so my daughter wanted to play soccer. I took her out there, and I made the mistake of I cannot sit still, so I would chase loose balls, which got me promoted to manager, assistant coach, head coach, referee, and now North Texas A&D chairman. And I always tell people I should have never left my lawn chair and would chase that loose ball.
There's probably a lot of parents that could relate to that story, Carlos. Miara. Miara? Are you,
Mariah.
Oh, Mariah, sorry.
sorry.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, I started when I was a little kid. You know, my parents just threw me out there. I was just had a lot of energy. I just, you know, would kick the ball around, you know, and then I started getting, you know, I'm really competitive, and I started scoring more goals, and my parents were like, you know what, let's put her in club. So I started at my local club, and then it just grew from there. I mean, my parents were really hesitant about taking me more up north because we're from, like, you know, more south of like San Diego area. So when I went up north, it was a big challenge for me, you know, a lot of, you know, more white girls playing, a lot of more, you know, money over there. And so it was really hard for us at first, but, you know, I adapted really well. And, you know, I played for Surf. Then I moved to Albion C. I served as captain. And then I actually this year, my senior year of high school, I decided to come back to the South and play for the Rebels for, you know, like my city. So yeah, and as of right now, I'm going through the college process of getting recruited to further my career in college.
Mikey.
Yeah, I started playing when I was 4 years old. Played in McAllen until I was in 8th grade. I had to move to Austin, Texas, to a boarding school because I guess my parents, or the club team that I was on, was my dad was a coach, and we couldn't afford, I guess, continuing with that team. So I had to move to Austin to play for a bigger club. And that's how I got scouted to go to UNC Chapel Hill. Played there a year and a half until my sophomore season. I got drafted in 2013 to Sporting Kansas City. Like I said, I spent 3 years there, 2 years at NYCFC. And then in 2018, I played for San Antonio FC. And since 2019, I've been here in Birmingham Legion. So it's been quite a journey to get to where I'm from, to where I'm at right now. But it's been a really, I've enjoyed my time playing. So it's been good.
You've gotten to see the United States.
Yeah, somewhat, somewhat.
Omir.
Similar to the other players, I started when I was really young. I think like Mikey, I think I might have been like 4 or 5, somewhere around there. And it kind of started just in New York City. I mean, one of the local parks. I was playing every weekend, and eventually I was 6 or 7. My dad wanted to put me a more organized team, and I started playing in Gachi. It was kind of like what Mariah said. It was kind of like less Hispanics, a little bit more, you know, dominance of, you know, other kids. And, you know, my parents didn't know how I would react because I was very shy. And, you know, I think in the soccer world is just very different. I think you guys all speak the same language and stuff like that. So I became really good friends. When I was 14, I started playing with Red Bulls Academy. I think since then, that's when everything changed for me. I went to college like Mikey in North Carolina, but I went to Wake Forest, way better than Chapel Hill. And I was there for a year and a half and left to sign with the New York Red Bulls in 2019. And this is my third season, like I said, and I'm so happy.
Thank you. Andrea?
Yeah, I've got to give Mikey an opportunity if he wants to rebut that comment, or are you good?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Wake, when I was there, Wake was not that good. So
Oh,
I won a national championship with UNC. So I don't know if Wake has won one since I
Oh,
was
it's
there.
good.
So.
I mean, I'm just gonna say when I was there, I never lost to UNC.
Fair enough.
But, it's fair enough coming from
fair
me.
enough. I didn't lose to Wake either, so it's a good thing we didn't play at the same time.
wow. Awesome. Okay, we're going to start off with Mariah. What's your proudest moment from your involvement in the game?
You know, I've been thinking about this question, and I don't think I have like a certain proud moment. I think it's just like my growth in the game. You know, I started off, I was pretty shy. I mean, I was competitive, but I was just this really shy kid who always, just did things on my own. And I think just my overall growth in the game and like just being able to, become a leader and become more confident and like on and off the field is just, I think, one of my proudest moments. Like looking back, like now, like compared to like me, like 5 years ago, I'm pretty proud of like where I'm at and like how much I've grown.
Okay. Mikey, what is your proudest moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a lot of moments that I can say I'm proud of. I think probably the most proud moment for me was representing the national team. Even though it was with the U20s, I was still able to represent them, and I played in the CONCACAF tournament qualifiers, and it was in Mexico. It was held in Mexico, and we played against Mexico in the final. I still think we should have won that game, but we lost. We lost in extra time. I think for me that game was like a really proud moment for me because like I said, I'm a Mexican American, and playing for the U.S. against Mexico is something that not many people get to experience. So it's just being able to represent my country in that moment was really good. And also just going to the World Cup, playing for the U.S. in the U20 World Cup was also another proud moment. So I think those two are kind of connected because it was in the same year, same cycle. So yeah.
That's awesome. What an achievement. Omir?
I think for me might have been the first time I, scored with the Red Bulls. We played a Champions League game in Mexico. And so we were playing against a Mexican team from Liga MX. And it was my first year, and it was something really crazy to me. I don't know why the coach put me to start because it was a quarterfinal game. We needed to win. And, I scored in the first 5 minutes. And I think it was the proudest moment for me because of not what it did to me, but what it did to my parents. I think after the game, they felt like they were on top of the world. They told me so many people were congratulating them. They were crying and they were super happy. And I think for me, I've never seen my parents more proud of me. And I think seeing them so happy and seeing all their work, finally come true and see what it's done. For me, it was the proudest moment.
You mentioned family, and I think that's so prevalent with the Latinos, Hispanics. Family is the heartbeat. It's everything. And you mentioned in that really solidifies, who we are.
No, for sure. I think for all our players, I think without our family, we wouldn't be in the position we are today. And I think for me, they're one of the reasons that I play. And, I want to make them super happy and proud of every time they see me out in the field.
You make a mom proud.
Oh, thank you.
Sylvia?
Mine was last year when my son was at nationals. They played, they made it through for the game. They were tied, went through double overtimes. Last 30 seconds of the game, my son scored the header where they tied the game. And then they went to penalty kicks. Like, it was a cool moment, not just for my son, but for the rest of the team. Our team, we had like 5 new players at the beginning of January last year, and nobody had any expectations that the kids would make it all the way to nationals, but the little stinkers just kept on working and working and working, and they won and they won and they won. It was a really cool culmination of a good season.
That's great. Carlos?
My greatest moment was a little bit humbling. Last Thursday, I was invited by the Federation to attend a U.S. Men's Jamaica game in Austin, the brand new stadium, Austin FC, and that was humbling. I have as a state representative been to regionals, nationals, countless of times, and the most humbling moment was when I was refereeing about 6 years ago. I was refereeing an adult tournament. It's just a tournament. It didn't have no national title or anything. And there was a Hispanic adult men's game. I think there were over 40. And the whole sideline for the Hispanic team was dressed in a Azteca outfit. They had an Azteca king dressed in the whole outfit and everything. And they were beating the drums, blowing the horns, and just celebrating. And that, to me, like you mentioned a while ago, it's in your blood. Yeah, I get the same feeling when my son-in-law happens to be playing mariachi music, and I look at my 2 daughters and say, that is our heritage. That is our blood. Internationally renowned, that is our heritage. Done thousands of tournaments, but when I saw them all dressed up in Azteca costumes and they were singing, that made me very, very proud.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. Tim?
Thank you. So we're going to go to Mikey. If you could change one thing about your soccer experience so far, what would it be and why?
I think that's a difficult one because I mean, I've been blessed to become a pro, and it's something that if I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't have made it to where I am now. I guess maybe the one thing I would change would probably be have to go back to when I was a youth player, having to move from the Valley to Austin. I think if we had the financials and if more teams were willing to play us down in the Valley, and there was more eyeballs on kids from the Valley, I think that I would have not had to make that move to Austin, and I would have stayed at home a lot longer than I did. So I think that would be the one thing I changed. At the same time, I think that me moving away from my family would help me grow up a lot faster and help me become more mature at a younger age, and has gotten me to where I'm at now. So like I said, it's a difficult question to answer because I wouldn't be here and where I'm at without the things that I went through.
Well, it certainly didn't sound like a difficult answer. I know you probably had to do a little soul searching there, but it certainly, I think you put it very, very well. Mariah.
I think the same thing. I think, without the obstacles and things that I haven't done, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I think what I would change, I mean, I know I'm still in my youth, but I think, like putting myself out there more, like promoting myself more. I feel like I would have a lot more opportunities than I have, now. Yeah, I mean, that's like the biggest thing for me, but yeah.
Okay. Carlos.
take advantage of opportunities would be the one thing that I would change. I kept hearing in today's broadcast about it's a rich kid sport, it's a rich kid sport. My cardiologist is Korean, and his son quit playing soccer when he was 4 or 5 years old because he wasn't interested in it. And he said, you know, it's so hard to get a scratch game in the United States. He said every country, Korea, everywhere, you can if there's a piece of street, a dirt lot, kids are playing every day. You don't need an invitation. You need to join a club. You don't need to be registered. It's a scratch game. And in Dallas, we have very expensive neighborhoods and stuff. And if you want to advance, you cannot play recreational soccer. You cannot play scratch game. You have to join a club and move up the ranks. So to answer your question, as an administrator, I would like to seize and take advantage of where you can help lower income kids who have the passion, who love playing soccer, give an opportunity like Mariah and Mikey and everyone else to see if they can help them find a club or something that it would be at minimal cost to the parents.
Well said. Well, and I think probably everybody here would agree with you. I know Sylvia will. Correct?
Sorry. For sure. That's definitely, that's one of the reasons why I called, because I feel like there's a divide between the inclusion policy, but then the reality of where the low income, whether it be Hispanics or any other nationality, where it comes together. I mean, our family does well. We make, you know, we're well-established middle class, and it's still almost outprices my family. We have a lot of Hispanic families that they're just, I mean, when we went to nationals, our shirts were $6 and we pre-cutted our jerseys because we couldn't afford to buy jerseys. So, I mean, we looked like the Bad News Bears, but that's how we were able to do it. So, I think, you know, there's clubs that they say that they give scholarships, but who checks on that? Like, how many scholarships do they really get? Who is the league monitoring that? You know, there's all these 501c3s, but every single Hispanic on my team and other teams, club teams that I've talked to, everyone says they've never gotten a scholarship. So I think maybe there's a mismatch in where that's at.
Thank you. Elmir, you get the final word here.
Oh no, it's tough. I think I love the obstacles, but I think what came to my mind when I heard the question was probably just change how many resources me and my, you know, family and, you know, even my teammates had. I think my parents were so determined to do whatever they could to, you know, get me to these practices and stuff. And they didn't have many resources, you know, at times we didn't have a car, at times we didn't have the money to pay for these things. And I was just lucky enough that they kept pushing and pushing. You know, other families don't push as much and then their kids don't have that opportunity. I think for me, maybe giving my parents a little bit more resources so they didn't have to, you know, struggle as much and, you know, do as much. But at the end of the day, I feel like that could have changed me, and I'm happy to have gone through that struggle.
Thank you.
That's actually a perfect segue into the next question. I think a lot of you will resonate with this. What are the things holding back Hispanic participation in organized soccer in the United States? So let's start off with Carlos.
Aside from the income, that is the only obstacle, because as we have mentioned before, if the drive is there, if the passion is there, if you score average four goals a game, you're going to get sponsorship. You're going to be noticed. You're going to be invited to a club. We have a lot of clubs here that do sponsorship and minimize the cost, absorb the cost. So aside from the cost, if the player has the passion and is willing to do the work, there are a lot of doors that can be opened to help them continue.
Mikey, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the income for sure. I think another obstacle is the cultural misunderstanding that I guess like the mutual cultural misunderstanding between like Hispanic people and like non-Hispanic people. I think that they don't, white Americans or other white or Black Americans don't understand us and as the same way that we don't understand them. And I think one of the biggest obstacle for, especially for like a Mexican American in the States, is that the normal American looks at us and thinks that we'll automatically root for Mexico or be more inclined to want to pursue Mexican soccer rather than wanting to pursue American soccer. I think that cultural misunderstanding is one. I think another one is especially back home, is just how poorly ran the leagues are, especially for organized soccer. A lot of players decide, or a lot of kids and families decide not to be a part of USYS because of the way that the directors are in the Valley. They don't really look out for the players, for the well-being and the development of the players, and they're just looking out for being better financially off, I guess. So it doesn't help the kids, and the kids, instead of playing in sanctioned leagues, they start playing in unsanctioned leagues, and that's why they don't really fall under the USYS umbrella. So I think those two things are kind of the biggest obstacles that I've seen, especially back home in the Valley.
That is utterly profound, and there's a lot of truth to, complete truth to what you're saying. I think just to add a comment, my husband, who's Colombian, coached a soccer team here in Solano Soccer Club. And I like to think that we took care of the boys, when they started getting older, and we helped fundraise. I think that there are some teams that are out there that they have coaches who take care of their players, but there's a lot, like you said, who just don't understand and who don't take the time, and who their vision or the coach's vision or the club's vision is completely different. So thank you so much for that. That was really profound. Sylvia, I've been watching you nod your head.
Well, so there's a couple of things, like from an administrative standpoint, but as far as the clubs, the club culture, I've never seen a business ran where they expect you to like bow down to them and not the other way. Like, it's not ran like a business. It's a lot of politics. I wish that there was like a better business bureau for clubs, just for clubs, or there was some accountability somewhere, because we have run into some really dirty clubs. I think that that's an issue. From an administrative standpoint, I sign up a lot of our Spanish speakers. I have to go through, like, just even sign up for a club for registration, it's all in English. So I have to read it to them. And then sometimes I'll just use Google Translate and translate for them. Permission forms, all in English. And it's hard. Even the state of play tournaments, everything's in English when you have to sign up for those hotels. So, and there's some things, that they just don't understand. And I try to explain the best that I can, but I think there's some things that are lost in translation. A lot of times they'll have their kids translate for them. And I know a little bit of Spanish, not a lot. And I'm like, that's not quite right, what you're saying. But I don't have enough Spanish to really convey the message well. Some of the other things is, I was talking to one parent, and she's like, my son started in West Chicago at the Park District. And she's like, there was like a group of 7, like 4 or 5-year-olds when her son started. She's like, it took us 6 weeks to realize that these kids didn't even understand English. She's like, because they just smiled and nodded, and they wasted 6 weeks of training because they didn't even know that there was the language barrier there. So I think there's a lot of things that, some things can be easily fixed. I don't know, like I said, if there was a resource on what clubs are friendly towards, the scholarships, or, you know, like I said, which ones are more honest, things like that. I think even a resource, what's a good fundraiser? What ones are most profitable? If there was a resource, something like that people can go to, I think that would be very helpful for a lot of teams and families.
And a lot of valid points. You know, hopefully things will move in that direction as our population continues to grow in this country. Hope. Omir.
Just from personal experience and, you know, seeing, you know, I have a lot of friends that, you know, couldn't play at the next level or, you know, tried, I think, and just seeing now little kids playing and, you know, trying to pursue their dreams. I think it's just different resources. Like many people said, I think having an actual and fair, genuine opportunity to get to this level. I feel like I was so lucky to be exposed to be able to play academy and stuff like that. But, you know, not everybody gets that opportunity, you know. People, like, I feel like for us Latinos, Hispanics, we have to, like, I don't know if it's like travel or work twice as hard to get our kids to try out, you know. And sometimes, you know, I feel like for other players, it's so easy to just try out and get on this team. But like for us, I hear many parents say, oh, I can't get my son to so-and-so because it's too far or it costs too much money and this and that. And I feel like just that opportunity, that genuine, fair opportunity to even put your foot through the door is what I think people need. And it's what, you know, everybody wants. I feel like, you know, a lot of people ask me like, oh, can you try to get my son to try out here? Can you try to get my son to try out there? Because like they can't do it on their own. I feel like if you don't know anybody in higher positions, it's so hard for you to even get a look at your son or your child. And I think just having that equal opportunity for our kids it's something that, you know, we need.
Thank you. Mariah?
Yeah, I mean, going off of what everyone is saying, I mean, I think it's the resources. I live 10 minutes away from the border. I'm from Tijuana, and, you know, I cross the border sometimes and I go play pickup games in TJ, and it's I've never seen like so much passion and talent down there. And, you know, I have friends down there and I have friends in San Ysidro. And I mean, it's like just down there in San Ysidro, the amount of talent down there is like, it's amazing. Like, it's crazy. Like, and I just wish that sometimes I could be like, hey, like, come, like, you know, come play with my club. But, you know, I know not all kids have those opportunities. And I think what Carlos was saying, I mean, you know, if you have the talent, if you have, you know, if you score goals, like you'll get recognized. But I think that's true to an extent because, you know, some kids, you know, have that, but they don't, you know, like they have like difficulties at home. Like their parents aren't willing to drive them like 45 minutes to an hour, like all the way up north to, you know, practices, you know, like I'm fortunate enough that I have a dad who's willing to, you know, drive me up north and take me to practices, you know, just so I can pursue my dream. But yeah, I think it's resources that I think for kids, you know, who are less fortunate that could be bettered.
Thank you. This is such an important question, and I'm picking up resources, the translation, scholarships, and transportation. Those are really the four major components that are happening, you know, that could prevent players. And I'm hoping, you know, that we're listening to this conversation and we're moving forward and making a change with that, because we're leaving behind some excellent players. Tim?
Yeah, just astounding insight there from all of you. And I'm going to now ask the hard question to follow up all that great insight. And we'll start with Omir. How do we overcome these obstacles? You know, we'll start with the youngsters because young minds tend to be more fertile places and can think outside the box. So we'll start with you, Omir.
No, it's tough. I think these are problems that are still going on now. Nobody really has a solution for them right now. It's so tough because for me speaking, I don't know how, you know, these clubs, these organizations, these leagues work. But if it was just so easy, if it was up to me, I would just, you know, every park just have an opportunity for kids to be seen, you know, have all these like I think we're realizing now more than ever with so many young kids, you know, playing at such a pro level and, you know, showing their quality. Now we're trying to realize, oh, there's maybe some Latinos that are good and that are young. And now we're trying to send a little bit more scouts. But I think just having, I don't know, more people watching these games, watching these kids, actually thinking about them. I think, you know, I think it's so difficult to say because, like I said, I don't know how the higher ups run the things, but I don't know, if it was up to me, I'd have somebody watching every single game, every single kid, you know, and seeing, oh, how good is he? How good is this? Not just watching a specific thing, you know what I mean? And that would be one of my solutions, I feel. So just so everybody can get that equal opportunity.
Well said. Mikey.
Yeah, so I am I guess I didn't mention this in the beginning. I'm part of the Athletes Council, which is part of the many councils in the federation. I think a way we can overcome this, like to Amir's point, is more eyeballs on these kids, more scouts, trying to get more scouts into these lower income, lower I guess smaller cities that aren't really well known. I know it's a bit easier for kids in the bigger cities just because it's a bigger city, but it's a lot harder to get the kids from these smaller towns, smaller cities across the country to get noticed. So I think having more scouts available to all these smaller cities is very beneficial and would help overcome this lack of Hispanic children in more organized sports. I also think representation, especially within the federation and in other parts of the federation. I think having more Hispanic and Latino people in higher positions is would be beneficial as well for all Hispanics, because they will see that there's people like that look like them in these positions of the federation. That way, that'll let them know that they are being represented and they have a place, a home in the federation and within the U.S. I guess umbrella. So I think having more scouts and having more representation of Latinos in the federation would be extremely beneficial to overcome some of these obstacles, because like Sylvia said, that there's a lot of things that are in place for clubs that aren't really in place for Hispanic people. They're just mainly all in English, and that's it, and they don't really cater to the other population that we have in this country. So I think just going back to what I said, more representation and having more scouts around the country would help us.
Thank you for that. Very insightful on the representation part, for sure. Mariah.
Yeah, I mean, what Omir said, I mean, I think it's just the equal opportunity. I mean, you see so many, people advocating like, oh, like come to these camps. But I mean, like, they're also, hundreds of dollars. And I think, making, like camps, down, south in places that aren't, that kids don't have a lot of income. I think having them like maybe like free camps, or, just having like those scouts go out there, that like just making them profitable. Kids don't have to pay to get recognized. I mean, I know I go to like a Surf Cup, like one of the biggest, tournaments in youth soccer, and it's thousands, like they make a lot of money. But I mean, there's also, kids down, down in where I live, in San Ysidro area that aren't getting that recognition because they don't have that amount of money. But I think if there's people who could go down there, and I'm probably sound repetitive, but just not charging them as much, I think that'd be good on representation, which is what Mikey was saying.
Thank you. Sylvia.
So I've talked to a lot of parents and because I asked them, I'm like, why did you decide to transfer from your Hispanic league to a club league? Or what were some obstacles that you did? And I think that there is a level of uncomfortableness, I think, coming to a club environment because it is, the Mexican leagues, they're close to home. It's easy transport. Usually it's a group of kids, so somebody can carpool. So parents who are working a lot, their kids can still have an activity. It's low cost, maybe 125 for a registration, and then it's like $5 a game. So it's something that they can afford as they go through. But I think once they get through there, some of the coaches kind of feel a little bit proprietary towards them, and they're like, well, no, you shouldn't go to a club. They're going to take advantage of you. I heard that from probably 4 or 5 parents, as they were making the transition. So maybe some education, some outreach to those Hispanic leagues, and maybe working on partnering a club with a Hispanic league and making an avenue for that. Again, I think, are there grants out there for soccer players? Are there, what scholarships, things like that? I think if you can aggregate a source where people can go, and I think even how to even get into clubs. I mean, I know when we first started going to clubs, it's a very political thing. A lot of times, a lot of these clubs are very cliquey because a lot of kids start at 4 or 5 and then they grow up, and it's really kind of hard to get into that whole environment, and it can be very uncomfortable, especially, I don't know, for me, when I went in, I really didn't know that much about soccer. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm an administrative expert. That's where I'm at. So, but I think it's a very intimidating thing though, to come into a club where kids who started, when they were younger, and then coming in as a new kid, especially if you've never even been in the club culture before.
Aggregating resources is, I think, something that we definitely need to take a look at, and as well as creating that how-to. I think both of those are really that's low-hanging fruit. That's something that's easy to do to try to make things a little easier. Carlos.
At my ripe old age, I have learned that very seldom does a long ball score a goal. As all these players know, it takes from kickoff, it takes pass until you set up a play and it goes in the goal. Celia said something that hit a chord with me, and that is all the registration forms, all the forms we have in North Texas State Soccer are in English, as well as I'm willing to bet 13 Southern states, what we call Region 3. First thing tomorrow morning, I'm going to contact our office and see if, in fact, we have our forms in Spanish. If the answer is no, how long will it take to transfer them to Spanish? Baby steps. And then in January, we have the Federation AGM in Atlanta, and in February, we have the USYS in Kansas City. Network with all 50 states. All 50 states are going to be in Atlanta. All 50 states are going to be there in Kansas City, and network with them and say, do you currently have a form in Spanish? And if not, what will it take to do it? It's not cost prohibitive. And just baby steps, go to the next step, and continue going until you finally start migrating to where we want to be.
Excellent. Carlos, I think
Good stuff is
great. Yeah, that's a great answer. It's about eating that elephant one piece at a time and doing the things that you have control over and that are practical. The language, just making some translation. When we started the committee at USYS, we didn't have any Spanish documents, and now we've slowly begun to start to create some. The members of the diversity committee began to translate some of the first few documents that we rolled out, but it's something that we have to continue and do that right across the board. All right. Make it more welcoming for someone to come on in and learn about your organization. And that goes a long way to making them feel more inclusive. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Tim. I'm sorry. Was there another person we were going to wait for?
No, I was, all I said was good stuff there from.
Okay, great. I think if you and Andrea wouldn't mind, I'd like to interject some of the questions from the chat. There are a number of them here, and some were addressed by some of the questions you asked earlier, but there's two that's still outstanding. And this one, let me see if I pull it up. This one is directed to Mariah from Stephanie. It's Stephanie writes, thank you all for sharing your inspiring stories. Mariah, have you experienced any gender stereotypes? And do you have suggestions on how can better represent women in soccer? How we can better represent women in soccer?
You know, immediately when she said the gender stereotypes, you know, I've gone through it a lot. I mean, growing up, I mean, me and my friends, like, we always go to these pickup games, and, you know, obviously they're going to choose the boys first over the girls. And it's really frustrating, you know, having to sit out and just watch until you know, get on the field and you show what you got. And it's kind of like, yeah, like I'm a girl, but I can still hang with you guys. You know, it sucks, but I mean, I think, you know, sorry, I'm blanking right now, but yeah, I just think, you know, going out there and I just showing up, you know, I mean, it's very rare, like it's just me and another girl, you know, showing up to these pickup games, and you know, I'm grateful that I, you know, have those facilities. But how we can better represent women in soccer, you know, I had a coach, and she's the one who actually referred me, Eloisa, and you know, she's really big on this. And you know, I think representing women in soccer is becoming better. I know women in soccer haven't been represented too well, you know, in the past, but I think, you know, I've seen more I just think, you know, just like any little like advertisement for women, or like just anything, you know, because it's really hard, you know, women in sports. I mean, we all struggle. I mean, with like finance, with like the women's soccer, with like the struggles they go through. But I think just, you know, advertising us and more, and sorry.
And being willing to and involve you in the game early on. I think those are two very good points.
Yeah.
Very good, Mariah. All right, the next question is from Daniel, and this one's open to everybody on the panel. So any one of you would like to take a point at making an answer. Daniel writes, I know there are some serious issues with racism on the pitch in Europe. European pro leagues right now. Have you ever experienced racism on the pitch here in the US?
I know my son's team, when they were beating other teams, like half of the team, you know, they would say, why don't you swim back across the river, or would just say, you know, other slangs and stuff. And it wasn't the Hispanic kids that got mad on our team. It was the white kids that really, it's just so weird to for our team, because we are so mixed racially. We've definitely have heard some slurs. I don't know though, but I think the kids have handled it pretty well. So I mean, we just try to tell them they're just mad because you're beating them, and you know, or maybe you haven't been exposed to it, and just keep on persevering, you know.
Yeah, try and take that higher road. Anybody else would like to address that question?
Yeah, I'll address that. It's funny. I guess I experienced it twice. Once when I was a younger kid, we would play tournaments in I think it was like Austin or San Antonio. And on the club team that I was on, it was just a bunch of little Mexican American kids, and we would be beating everybody. And then I remember we were playing a final, and we were playing a team full of white kids. And during the game, the I guess like the other kids from like the same club, they all started chanting USA, USA, kind of going against us, because they looked at us as Mexican kids, and they didn't think that we were from the States as well. So they were chanting USA against us. I mean, ultimately we beat them, so it wasn't anything we didn't really mind too much, but it was something that's just really weird, that And it doesn't just happen in soccer, it's happened in multiple sports, especially for kids in schools from where I'm from. Anytime they go play a majority white team, the opposing fans start chanting USA against us, just because we are mainly Mexican American people. That was one instance. Another instance that another time that I experienced this was I was playing for UNC. We were playing at Clemson. I know if Amir's, if I'm sure he's played at Clemson, he knows that Clemson's kind of sketch in a way. Someone said a racial slur against me, and someone in the stand said it, and I heard him. I continued playing. I scored a goal, and I blew a kiss at them after my celebration. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely happened, and it's something that I guess, as I think Daniel said, that it's continue happens in Europe, and I hope that it doesn't happen as much here, that it doesn't get as much attention here, but hopefully we can move beyond these terrible moments in our game.
Yeah, I agree with you. So it's back to that stereotyping that you guys talked about earlier, where someone is seeing you as Mexican American, but thinking you're going to support somebody other than the USA. So it's very difficult. And I will say, since I've been on the committee, there have been a number of complaints, however, that have been coming in about the use of racial epithets and different situations, fights breaking out. And I think people are at the point where they're now ready to report more of those situations. And as a state administrator, we've got to be ready to have something in place to allow us to process these things and try to implement some things that will maybe head off some of that confrontation. But again, thank you very much for your responses. Andrea and Tim, I'll let you guys take it back over. All right. And if anything else comes up, I'll include. There is one more here, but I think you've got a question already lined up for it, and I'll let you get to that one instead.
I think we could just ask one more question from Lucas Mora. Is there a coach or athlete that you look up to as a role model, and why? I don't know if we can answer quickly given the time. Mikey, you're smiling. Do you have someone in mind?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, growing up, I guess it was Cristiano Ronaldo, just because you see him and you obviously how talented he is, but you always hear from other teammates of his that they always say of like his hard work, his work ethic, that he's always training before and after training, before training and after training, even he stays longer. So I think just because of even though how talented he is, he works extremely hard every single day. And it's just, I think that's why he's kind of a role model for me, even though we don't play the same position at all. But I think, yeah.
Mikey, I had you all the way up here until you said that. I thought, we got to have Messi.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Messi.
That's my Argentine. You got to have Messi.
I mean, Messi's out of this world. I mean, they're both amazing players. But I mean, for me, I grew up like kind of a Man U fan, so that's why he was the person that I kind of looked up to.
I got you. Does anyone else want to answer?
Yeah, I have my past coach, Eloisa. She actually is probably someone I look up to. She was, I've growing up, I've only had male coaches, and she was actually my first female coach. And, originally I was like, like, I wonder how it's going to be. And it was actually like probably like one of the most like inspirational 2 years of my life playing soccer, like under her. She was not only like so passionate about the game, she was so passionate about us and about like, the psychological side of soccer and, showing us that like how important women in soccer are. She's definitely, one of like someone like I will always, she's like definitely a mentor to me. And she's also from Spain. So, I mean, it was, it's really cool, having her. She's also like from Spain. She's Hispanic. She's a woman, it's really cool seeing that. And then an athlete, I'd have to go against Mikey, and I'd have to say Messi.
Did Andrea send you something there? No, I
We
think
love
a lot of
you.
us agree with that one. A lot
Te
of us
amo,
agree.
Mariah.
Yeah, definitely. And I know Cristiano's good. I just definitely admire how humble Messi is. He's a great athlete. I've loved watching him play since I was little. But yeah.
Great, thank you. Omir, did you want to answer? We have just like seconds left.
No, I think me and Mikey grew up the same way because I'm a big Man U fan, and the big reason is because of Ronaldo. Just like him, if you ask me who my favorite player is, it's Ronaldo. Who the best in the world is, I might have to say Messi. But
Okay, fair enough.
I grew up watching Ronaldo do everything, and everything he did on the field, I wanted to replicate in my game. And I feel like the way he carries himself, and when I was little, I wanted to do all the tricks and this and score the goals. But now I see, like Mikey, how he takes care of himself, how a big pro he is. And that's who I look up to for sure.
All right.
Hugh, before you wrap
Oh, yeah, go
up,
ahead. Yep.
I'm sorry, before you wrap up, I think you have a link. I think it was just sent to me. I'll put that in there if anyone has any more questions or comments. Put the link in the chat. You put that in there.
Yeah, I'll post it to everybody right now. All right.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. And I did want to say just one more thing because someone doesn't know that I know. Pero feliz cumpleaños, Hugh. It's your birthday today. So happy birthday to you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank
All
you
right,
very
Hugh,
much.
it's all yours.
It's hey, it was a very good session again. The time went away from us. We didn't even realize that it went so good. And I thank everybody on the panel. I thank the participants on the call today for sharing in and sharing some questions. And this is what it's all about. Making us aware of what those issues are, having these discussions, and just alone, Carlos taking the initiative and saying, hey, as soon as I leave here, I'm going to take action on something that I have control of. That's what these sessions are all about. And so, hey, I want to thank everybody, and hopefully others are encouraged as well, that there are things that we can do to address the stereotyping. There are things that we can do to address the cost and the opportunity that we can provide these players. We know they're all out there, be they in the inner city or in a league somewhere else. We have to break down those barriers and make it more available to all the players that we have. And so again, thank you, everybody. We did post in the chat. We have our website. Please go to the website, contact us if you got any other ideas for future sessions and or things that you'd like us to explore, things you think we need to change to make this a more inclusive environment for our members. And with that, being 2 minutes over, thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you very much for being invited.
All right.
Thank you. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Mariah.
Thank you. Happy birthday.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
All right.